you guys have been spamming me about this new G-Bay. I have not seen it yet. Today is the day for the new G-Bay. Okay. I guess we just play the video now. WoW is too famous for its own good by G-Bay. Let's check it out.
Warcraft has one of the most interesting problems I've ever seen in gaming, which is that this game is too famous. WoW has been around for so long and has been such a success for so long, it seems as though most people have forgotten what the game looks like to new players. And I think this has created one of the strangest blind spots I've ever seen a video game have. Now, regular viewers of my channel already know I've been documenting my experience playing through WoW from the perspective of a new player in my first ever 1 to 60 leveling series. And I'm not just a new WoW fan, I am a new WoW super fan. I've been playing through all the games, I'm spending money on merch, I am Bobby Kotick's Ultimate Fantasy. But for as much as I've already said about this game and all the fascinating things I keep coming across, there is one big topic I haven't had the chance to discuss yet, which is that the new player experience in WoW is so unbelievably strange. For players like me starting their WoW journey out in the current year, it is flat out weird to firstly see how good this game still is, how so many elements of what made WoW such a success back in the day are still the things you notice almost immediately after making your first character. But for all the good that you'll find, playing WoW as a new player today is also incredibly strange, because it
like, so for me, what I like about classic WoW, and like, so I'm not the new player, so I'm listening with open ears here. What I like is that it almost feels sandboxy. It doesn't say go in this direction and do that. It doesn't tell you how to play. I mean, you can play with hints, but the hints barely do anything. It's about like, you just log in and you're a person and go do whatever the heck you want to do. That's what made me fall in love with WoW as a 12-year-old. Like that, I was like, I loved that. When I was 12 and I played other games, I hated how it told me to go in this direction and go, you know, I had to go do this. I loved how in WoW, I could just go to Goldshire, I could go to the city, I could sit at level 7 for a week and just chat with people or like do whatever I wanted. That's the best. I love that, right? I love that it doesn't tell you anything. It's just like, here's a world, go. Right, it's very sandboxy. It's not an actual sandbox, right? But it's on a spectrum. It's closer to that than a lot of other modern MMOs.
Might be the most confusing experience a person can subject themselves to, in a large part because of how successful WoW became. It's a wild thing to see firsthand, getting to experience both why this game became a massive sensation 20 years ago, and also seeing exactly why it stopped appealing to new players after a certain period of time. The latter of which is especially a tragedy, because I think this game's biggest flaw is just a simple blind spot that would be so easy to fix. Anyway, it's a fascinating discussion I've been dying to have for a while, so I would like to break everything down today in a dedicated video. But first, before we get into all of that, this video is sponsored by Patrick Adair Designs. Okay, so if there's one thing that you guys have all noticed about me before anything else, it's probably the shirts, right? In every one of my videos, you've seen that I'm always wearing some wildly patterned shirt, and that's no accident. That's just my wardrobe. I've always been of the opinion that life is too short to go around just wearing some boring Oxford button down with jeans. It is so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I can't believe some people would like wear the same shirt every day. It's like life is way too short to like want to do that. Like, you guys, you can spice up your wardrobe and look however you want.
To express yourself in the gear you put on every morning, collecting unique, quality-made things that have a story behind them and will last your entire life. That's why I am so excited about today's sponsor. Patrick Adair Designs is a jeweler specializing in creating some of the most beautiful, unique, and expressive rings you will ever see. Whether you're interested in something made from traditional precious metals or you want a little talisman made out of a meteor, they have a catalog filled with unique pieces that will have something appealing to you regardless of your taste or budget. When they reached out to me asking about a sponsorship, I jumped at the opportunity to get one of their rings made out of stardust, because I'm always interested in adding unique gear like this to my wardrobe that has a story behind it and will last my entire life. Every ring that Patrick Adair Designs make is handcrafted by an actual artisan, something exceedingly rare in today's machine run world, but that means you get to customize it however you want. You can get rings that glow in the the dark, featuring a range of
Nice.
gemstones
Okay.
and metals, or add something like a custom engraving. And don't worry, if you're someone like me who does not remember your ring size, even though you just got married not that many years ago, they provide free sizing kits along with a perfect fit guarantee. They're a super cool company that's well worth your time to check out, and now is the perfect time to do so.
Guys, does anyone actually know their ring size? I'm actually coming up on we had our 4-year wedding, coming up on our 5-year anniversary. And I definitely don't remember the ring size at all. Totally don't. Yeah, nope.
As they are currently running a 4th of July sale where for a limited time, if you buy any one of their rings, you can get another free. That is a deal that can be mixed and matched across any designs on their site. Just make sure you click the link in the description down below in the pinned comment, or scan the QR code on screen right now to go check out the sale, since it will only be around for a limited time. A seriously big shout out to Patrick Adair Designs for sponsoring the channel. But now, back to the video. Okay, so even though I didn't play World of Warcraft when I was younger, growing up in the 2000s, I could not escape this title and the massive influence it had on the world. Honestly, I don't think any kid from my generation could. As the years went by and I kept reading headlines and articles about the successes of WoW's various expansions.
Bro, the OG internet, man. Holy crap. I gotta take this in for a sec. Little Internet Explorer, Hotmail, MSN, Messenger, address, PCIGN.com. Look at this like OG website design. Oh my goodness gracious. Search web. Search frugal. Search site. Wow. Junk mail at the bottom. Okay, I think I'm ready.
Or how some new MMO was coming around to try to kill it. I felt like I had missed a significant part of the gaming cultural zeitgeist just because my computer was not good enough to run it back then. Maybe I did miss a lot. The 2000s were a special time, but finally getting around to trying WoW today has been a shocking experience for me, largely because this game is still insanely special. For all the MMOs that have been released over the years, no game has ever managed to do all of the things that WoW does, which is why I can't stop freaking out over everything I see in my playthrough. You guys have already heard how much I love the 24-hour day-night cycle, and the fact that hunter NPCs target prey they see nearby, and everything else I can't stop gawking over. They may seem like small details, but the details add up to a point where you still notice them even if you're picking up WoW today, because there isn't another game out there that's ever done all of this so well. It's actually interesting seeing how many other MMOs have tried to copy or improve some of the systems that WoW has, but they inadvertently make them a little bit worse by improving them. Take the day-night cycle, for example. World of Warcraft has a 24-hour day-night cycle, as I mentioned, and depending on what time it is during the day, different things in-game will happen. NPCs may appear in a certain area only during certain hours, or different kinds of resources or events may spawn. This isn't unique to WoW. Plenty of MMOs have a day-night cycle that show the passing of time, some of which might seem better on the outset. In Guild Wars 2, for instance, they have a day-night cycle, but one that runs every 2 hours instead of 24. So in other words, roughly 1 hour of gameplay is played in the daylight, with the next hour taking place at night, still with the same idea of having unique events happen in the world based on what time it is in game. And on paper, this seems like an improvement to a 24-hour cycle, since after all, a 2-hour day-night cycle means that every player, regardless of when they can physically sit down at their PC and play, they can all experience all the content the game has to offer. If someone wants to catch a special fish that only spawns at night, they don't need to literally wait around until it's actually night. So
this is like the whole design philosophy of like intentional friction. Say there is a mob that's only on at night, there's like something cool about having to then log in at night. I remember on my samurai playthrough, I had some, like, there was a rare NPC that spawned at night. Actually, I think it could have spawned during the day too. So this is maybe a terrible example, but it spawned at like 9 p.m. and I wasn't streaming. So but they hit me up on Discord. So I like ran over to my computer and logged in and started recording, and like they summoned me over. We made a whole YouTube video on it, and like we killed it and it dropped. It was just like so exciting. But like something about that of like, okay, now I got to log in early in the morning for this or that. Like, I don't know, keeps it very, very cool. Intentional friction. Word of the day. Words of the day.
2-hour day-night cycle seems superior, right? It's got all of the benefits of WoW's system with none of the drawbacks, except for One little problem: real life doesn't have a 2-hour day-night cycle. Cycling through days every 2 hours might be an optimized system that developers have crafted because they figured out that was the best length of time to give players access to all the content. But that's the thing. It was a choice made by a developer. In World of Warcraft, it's a 24-hour day-night cycle because that's how human beings live. This is what I mean by unnecessary
very
details.
immersive, yeah.
In many ways, the gameplay systems in WoW don't need to exist or exist in the way that they do, and some of them can even be a little inconvenient. But that inconvenience is life. Sometimes you have to schedule your day around things. Sometimes events happen in the world that have nothing to do with you, and sometimes people or items exist not for your benefit, but because that's just how the world actually is. And this is literally one of the first things that you will notice in WoW. The little details like this, which I'm aware aren't all exclusive to WoW, like the day-night cycle was just copied from EverQuest, but all these little details added together in Azeroth make this MMO feel more alive than any other world out there on the market. There still hasn't been another MMO, to my knowledge, that's taken the time to flesh out the world in as much detail as WoW has, which is why you still feel how impressive all of this is, even if you're picking up the game 20 years late like me. I certainly started.
One of the things that he hasn't mentioned that I feel like every WoW player would agree with is how darn good it feels to move around in WoW compared to any other MMO you play. Like there maybe are some that come close, but like WoW's movement is just like so good. Like the engine itself, like the way your character moves is just like snappy and quick and fluid, and it feels like you're just like playing your character. There's none of this like inertia added in. Have you guys played other games where like you're running in one direction and then they add inertia, so like you have to wait a second before swapping directions, and then it just feels like you're lagging? One of the reasons WoW can do this is because they have a targeting system, not an aiming system. If you have an aiming system and you have snappy movement, it becomes impossible to hit other people because you can just like move on a dime, right? So one of the ways developers make it possible to shoot other people is to add in a little bit of inertia at the end of the movement. So if you swap directions, you're standing still for a second and you have someone else has the opportunity to then hit you. That's what New World did, which is intentional design. The drawback is that it feels like you're walking through molasses every time you're like changing directions or walking forward and back. And WoW doesn't have this because they don't have aiming, because they're using a target-based system. So part of me thinks target-based systems and focus-based systems are sick for MMOs. It's one of the reasons for pure immersion.
To realize almost immediately why no other MMO was ever able to be the fabled WoW killer. Except, I do actually remember about a game many years ago that did succeed in killing World of Warcraft, supposedly, because back in 2011, a new MMO came out that actually launched surprisingly well. Unlike every other WoW killer that came before it, this one made it to launch. Gameplay was great, bugs were minimal, and after garnering 1 million active subscribers, that was enough for most gaming media to declare that Rift was the MMO that was killing World of Warcraft. Perhaps Rift succeeded because they actually copied WoW's 24-hour day-night cycle. Except if you aren't old enough to drink, you probably have no idea what Rift is, because, in fact, it did not kill World of Warcraft after all. In spite of its massively successful launch, as time dragged on, Rift saw most of its player base wane until it became all but dead. For a little while, this was a bit of a mystery to the gaming media. How did Rift manage to nail the part of MMOs that everyone else struggles with, actually getting off the ground and finding a subscriber base, but then go on to fail in doing what seemed like the easier part of everything, just retaining those players? And
like, okay, this has nothing to do with what he's talking about, but how does this come out in 2011? It was 2011, right? But Classic WoW comes out in 2004 and just looks like way better. Maybe I'm biased here, but like the portrait, the UI, the frames, the map, all of this looks like so much more dated, and it came out almost a decade later. They over attempted realism. I agree with that. When you over attempt realism, it just ages very poorly. Whereas when you have intentional, intentional gamer graphics, I suppose, it can age really, really well. Minecraft, Classic WoW, right? But when you, yeah, oof, just it doesn't age the same. Oof, doesn't age the same.
Keeping them happy with new content. Well, I can tell you now that I've played WoW myself, I think the answer is simply Rift failed because it wasn't built off the lore from Warcraft
Stylized art ages better. Yeah, well said.
3. That's the next thing that you notice in WoW when you pick up the game, even as a new player. You can feel how this franchise has more lore than any other game you've ever seen, and so much of it is phenomenal. I'm not joking when I say that WoW's universe is one of the greatest fantasy worlds ever created. Chris Metzen is the J.R.R. Tolkien of our era. If he was born in 1892, we would be studying The Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King as a great trilogy of novels. And
one of the things, I think I can say this. One of the things that I learned when I visited Blizzard is how much Chris Metzen carried World of Warcraft historically. This game is his brainchild. I didn't fully realize how much of it was Chris Metzen just sitting in a room saying things and writing on whiteboards and like just everything. It's just like he carried. I didn't realize that. I knew that to some degree, but I didn't realize the extent of which like this is all Chris Metzen. Like not all, but like there's so much Chris Metzen in these games. It's ridiculous when it comes to like the lore. I didn't fully realize that. So Metzen, W.
Lit class. That's the kind of quality world WoW was built on. Azeroth is a land that's not just a typical fantasy world. You have dozens of compelling and charismatic heroes and villains with backstories that are so deep, they're worthy of their own spin-off games. You have so many original races and monsters, each and every one having their own history and purpose. It's genuinely insane how much depth World of Warcraft has to it, and I honestly think that's a pretty underrated reason for why this MMO was the one that blew up to stratospheric heights.
So for me, I've talked about this a lot, and I actually get some pushback on this, but I've noticed, like, the three things that I've noticed have made WoW good or any other MMO successful are, one, you want pre-existing video game IP. So what this means is like Warcraft 3, right? You had a video game, actually pre-existing online video game IP is even better, very specific. You had Warcraft 3, had other players invested in an online universe that wasn't built out yet, but it was already loved by fans everywhere, right? So you had like a Warcraft 3. I feel like this was so critical to the success of WoW. The second thing is you need lots of money. That's kind of like an obvious one. Like if you don't have the money to fund the project, it just like probably won't work. And it was Blizzard. And then the third thing is like, do you have the track record of like, do you have the actual studio that can handle making good games? And you know, Blizzard in the early 2000s had a flawless track record. They had the money to back it, and they had the pre-existing online video game IP. Like these are the three things to me that really, like, good luck making an MMO without these three things and have it be successful. And when you start looking at other MMOs that are successful, right, or kind of successful, they have like maybe two of these three, and that's pretty good. If you have all three, it's like it's probably going to be a home run. The only other MMO with all three, the first one is very specific. Pre-existing online video game IP. The only other one is the League MMO, and that's why I'm so excited, right? They have League, literally League of Legends, Riot's track record, and then they have money, right? And I know you guys go, oh, SWTOR, you know, no, very different. Online pre-existing video game IP. But anyway, this is why I believe WoW is successful. I mean, there's a ton more reasons. These are the big three. I also think like something else that comes to mind that's pretty important is I feel like MMOs almost need to be fantasy MMOs. I feel like every MMO that's not a fantasy one, like, it just ends up flopping too. But I don't know if that's because of the generation that I grew up in. We watched Lord of the Rings growing up, and like living in that kind of like Lord of the Rings style universe is like really cool. So I think it probably has to be like a fantasy one, to be honest. I can't think of like a Star Wars, like a StarCraft. Yeah, probably not. Probably should be fantasy, but I don't know. I'll leave that one out. But yeah, definitely these three. Like those are the big ones. Yeah. Cool.
You play any other MMO like Rift that has good gameplay, but...
All right, hold on. Let me answer some of the chat. So people say FF14 and ESO. So FF14 is one of the biggest MMOs. They had a good track record and they had money. They didn't really have pre-existing online video game IP. They had pre-existing video game IP. And that's why, in my opinion, they had like 2.5 of these. Yeah, so that backs up the claim. And then a lot of other people are saying ESO. ESO is also one of the larger MMOs. So backs up the claim as well. They had a good track record and money. They didn't really have pre-existing online video game IP, but they had pre-existing video game IP, just like FF. And once again, they're pretty successful. So both of those back up the claim, in my opinion. They have like 2.5 or even like 2 3/4 of these three. And that's why they're successful. If they had full 3 for 3, they'd probably be even more. But yeah, those are two examples that back it up. Look up FF11. Okay, so you can just like back this up. Same argument, right? FF11 didn't have pre-existing online. Same thing. Like an MMO before an MMO. Okay. Just back it up. But that's my point. It backs up the point. It backs up the point, right? It's like these are the more successful ones. Anyway. Once again, take it or leave it, but that's how I see things, okay? If you have these three, it's a home run, and the only one that has full 3 for 3 is the League MMO. That's one of the reasons I'm so darn excited. There we go.
Maybe a simple or somewhat contrived backstory.
Oh, so, okay, people don't understand what I just said. FF11 predated FF. It's like if WoW had a WoW 0 before WoW 1 as its predecessor. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like another online game like a Warcraft 3, a StarCraft 2, a League, a Dota, like a predecessor that was online, not the same genre, not the same exact thing. It's just not a predecessor of another MMO, another game. Does that make sense? Maybe I didn't articulate that clearly.
For the world and why it is the way it is. You'll find yourself.
It would be like Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. Exactly. It would be like Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. Like that doesn't. It's like the same. Yeah. Exactly.
Self bouncing off that game pretty quickly anytime the gameplay starts to grow stale. By comparison, the fact that I, as a new player in Azeroth, constantly find myself running into new characters and areas, asking questions about why the world is the way it is, but unlike other games, every question I have has an answer, and normally that answer is, go play one of the greatest games of all time, or read genuinely quality fantasy novels, and I will find all the answers I'm looking for, and so much more. I don't know, that has to be part of why WoW took off in a way that no other MMO did. I actually think that's the reason the only other MMOs from back in the day that came close to touching WoW's success were the licensed titles from some of the more famous existing fantasy worlds ever made, games like Star Wars: The Old Republic and Lord of the Rings Online, because World of Warcraft is a fantasy world on the level of those franchises, and not only that, WoW even has a leg up on them in the MMO space. After all, those games have the baggage of being built off incredibly successful movies, where fans will come in with preconceived notions of what the universe is supposed to look like. So if a kid that loves Lord of the Rings starts playing its MMO and they find anything other than movie quality visuals and a faithful recreation of the Battle of Helm's Deep, that will leave him terribly disappointed, quitting not long after. WoW is in this really nice sweet spot where it has lore that's been fleshed out with the same quality and richness of those other fantasy worlds, but this IP isn't bound by having a massively successful movie that predates it, meaning players can venture around in the world not knowing what they'll find.
Yes, G-Bay, he gets it. So like, that's why I'm so specific with my point number 1 here. It's pre-existing online video game IP. This is what trips people up. This is what people don't understand. It could be a movie. It could be a book. It could be offline video game IP, but the best one for an MMO to launch is pre-existing online. It has a world, it has lore that's fleshed out, people are already playing online, and they want to explore it more. Warcraft 3, League, right? Like, yes, exactly. It's not like, the movie is good. Like, that's why something like a SWTOR could maybe take off. The pre-existing non-online video game IP is good. But the best one is the pre-existing online. Like that's what I believe, man. Like, yeah, you can have decent IP or good IP, the movie one or the book one or offline single player RPG IP, like that's good. But this is home run good. You see the difference? Am I explaining it better now?
Eagerly accepting whatever Kalimdor or Northrend or Lordaeron looks like. But it's not just all the lore and world building. Some of the gameplay options you're given in WoW are unmatched in a way that I don't know if WoW players realize how lucky they are. This is one of the other things you notice almost immediately when you first pick the game up, that WoW isn't just one game, it's like 8 separate games all wrapped into one because of how different all the race and faction starting zones are. As someone who's primarily played RuneScape, Guild Wars 2, some Blade and Soul, and the French king of them all, Dofus, across my personal MMO history, I'm used to games that either don't have class options when creating a character, or games where even if you do choose a unique race and class, everyone mostly gets funneled down the same main story of the world when questing and going across their gameplay. World of Warcraft is the only MMO I've ever seen where this isn't the case. In WoW, if you start up a new race on an alt, you aren't just getting new spells to use for whatever gameplay, you're getting an entirely new starting zone with new quests, new narratives, and a whole race's worth of history that you can then go read up on in the lore books. As a new player, this was one of the most mind-blowing things to me. To my knowledge, there's something like 6 separate starting zones in vanilla, right? Which means that vanilla is basically 6 separate games, at least when it comes to the first 20 to 40 hours of gameplay. But if you play later versions, there's even more. Every expansion seemingly added new races with new starting zones, new quests and stories. So if 6 games isn't enough, then you can find plenty more out there. This is actually one of the reasons I want to go back and try retail again. I would love to see how many zones and stories have been added to the game over the years, fleshing out the world as much as they have. Exile's Reach kind of ruined that experience of seeing a starting zone, I'm realizing. And again, this is all insane to me, partly because no other game has nailed all of these elements. There have been some MMOs over the years that have mimicked parts of WoW, but I've never seen a game that faithfully captures all of it at once, which is why you can't help but notice how special WoW is, even today, 22 years after its release. But, of course, if you are a new player picking up WoW for the first time, I have to be honest, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. All right, I don't like being negative on my channel, so let me preface this with a disclaimer. Any complaints I'm about to make come from a place of love, and also good news. It's all fixable. All of these problems are so easy to fix. But with all that being said, the new player experience in WoW can just be baffling sometimes. Like, first and foremost, the biggest problem Blizzard needs to fix yesterday is that World of Warcraft never tells new players why they should care about this game. This is one of the most shocking things I've ever seen a AAA title do, and almost the entire reason I wanted to make this video. For all the good WoW has in it, you never are told why this game is fun as a new player. Like, if you're a WoW veteran watching this video, let's do a little experiment here. Take a second. I want you to think about, what is your favorite part of this game? What is it that this game does so well that's kept you playing all these years? Is it the lore? Is it the challenging group raids or the PvP? Take a second to think about it. Pause the video if you need.
Okay. Well, for retail, I was addicted to it for over a decade, mainly because of the PvP. I'll just be honest. Like, that's what we're doing. But for classic WoW, to me, I think it's the world. It's the players and the world, and like running through the world and seeing other players. Like, it's the way you interact with the world, right? I think what's so good about classic is how much space you have and how much time, like pacing, like the slow pacing of classic WoW is, there's such a journey in the leveling experience. It's you're out and there's a journey in the world. I think that probably expresses it the best I can. Feels very sandboxy. Obviously not quite like a true sandbox like a Minecraft, but it feels very sandboxy for an MMO. It's like you're out there making your journey, and man, is it fun. And it gives you enough time to soak it all in because the leveling experience is so long. And then it's not a big surprise when most people hit level 60, they end up quitting within a few weeks or whatever, right? Like, a lot, people raid too, but like the big experience for most WoW players is that leveling journey in classic. So that's what I love about it so much.
Me too. Okay, got it in your head. All right, now
Yes.
can you point me to anything Blizzard has made in the past 5 to 10 years communicating that's what makes WoW special to new players? Have you ever seen a trailer or a TV ad or even just a web page telling someone like me I should come play WoW because it has that? I'd be surprised if you could. I don't think I've ever seen an official bit of marketing from Blizzard that explains what makes WoW special, worth playing as a game compared to any other. They've made trailers teasing new content that's coming, stuff like systems the game has or new raids about to be released, but I've never seen anything explaining why it's worth participating in this content, which is insane to me. From the outside looking in, it kind of feels like Blizzard have just started to assume everyone knows why they should play WoW, so their only job in marketing should be to try to lure old players back with trailers for expansions or content patches, trying to call people back to their home of Azeroth, not realizing kids that don't know what Azeroth is might be watching too. No other game does this. Nobody assumes everyone knows why they should play a certain video game and that there's no reason to sell their title to new players anymore. League of Legends has always had marketing that says, hey, we're a competitive PvP game where you get to express creativity in the role and character you play, often tying ads or trailers to the massive esports scene that shows how competitive the PvP can get. RuneScape has run ads for years now saying, hey, this is an MMO with no seasonal resets, so the gear you grind for is always useful. Even
I will say those RuneScape ads are really good. I don't know about you guys, but I got a bunch of them the last year, and it basically says like, want your progress to matter? Play old school RuneScape where we never reset anything. And it's like, oh, that's appealing. A very good ad. Does Blizzard run classic WoW ads? I don't know if I've ever seen one. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever actually seen one. Here's the thing. It feels like not many young people are playing MMOs as a genre. And my theory and take on this, which maybe I'm wrong, but my theory on this for the last like decade has been that game genres are generational, right? Just like names, just like fashion, just like music. Why wouldn't they be, right? So you have certain generations for whatever reasons gravitating towards certain styles of games, different genres of games, and they enjoy them for whatever reason that they do, right? And the current generation that is kids or maybe old enough to play WoW, like 12, 14, 15, really wants like information fast. They're growing up in the time of YouTube Shorts. They're growing up in the time of like TikTok and scrolling and quick. So it's no wonder they're gonna gravitate towards something like that you can just hop in and play instantly and dopamine. It makes sense, right? But my theory is that maybe 10 years from now, you know, maybe our kids or something, whatever, maybe 15 years from now, you'll see this like cyclical thing start to happen where people are maybe tired of like short form content and they're like, you know what, I'm going to get back to how things were and like just play a game for a long time and progress slowly in one world. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this will never happen. Maybe it was a thing that came up once and we'll never see it again, but I would hope that would be the case. But I'm saying all this because I think Blizzard knows this. I think Blizzard knows their biggest marketing angle is to call players back to play because kids are playing other genres of games altogether. They're not even playing MMOs. And I think since they know that, they're taking retail and merging it into not quite an MMO anymore. It's more of a lobby game. If you've noticed, if you played retail, it's much more of a lobby game. You sit in a city, you queue for solo shuffle, you queue for your dungeon, your raid, I guess you kind of have to fly there. If you're doing Mythic Plus, you have to fly there, but there's portals to get there instantly. It's basically like a lobby game. So they're trying to make retail into, okay, maybe this isn't really an MMO. Maybe it's more of like a lobby game slash, like hack and slash, kind of a lot of numbers coming up. It's quicker paced. So they're like intentionally kind of building it into maybe what the consumer of today might enjoy more. But at the end of the day, I don't know if that consumer's even there yet. It might be down the road. If I'm right, maybe 10, 15 years from now or something. What cycles does fashion go in? It's like 20-year cycles, I think. What about names? What about all these other things? Music. right? It's like 20-year cycles, right? So maybe we'll see a resurgence sooner than we think of MMOs just taking over the gaming landscape again. Anyway, that's been my theory. Thought of this like 10 years ago.
Dark Souls names its special editions Prepare to Die, telling you exactly what makes this game different from all the others you've seen. I've never seen Blizzard do this for World of Warcraft once. Every trailer is made up of some kind of dramatic scene or a cinematic showcasing bits of the lore, which kind of hints at the great story it has, but that's as close as they get to selling me on their game. There's nothing telling me the PvE content is the most challenging and rewarding group experience I'll ever have, with raids that are more difficult and take longer to complete than whole indie games. There's nothing telling me I should come play this game because it has a great PvP scene with a dynamic esports environment that would appeal to me as a League player. They don't even market it as a persistent world where I can just hang out with millions of other people anymore. That should always be the base selling point of an MMO. If I'm a new player curious about trying WoW today, the only thing I will see on the homepage for World of Warcraft tells me that this game is free for 20 levels, it's a world filled with magic and limitless adventure, and that it's an ever-expanding fantasy. That is...
I mean, to be fair, the things that I said about WoW that make it great is the journey in the world. It says, start your journey, welcome to Azeroth. To be fair, that's what I said when I paused the video. It's the world, it's your journey, it's an adventure, and they have all of those things in Blizzard's defense.
The most generic ChatGPT language I've ever heard before in my life. Even here, the thing that's really highlighted is something talking to people who've already played WoW, forsaking all the new players once again. I know Blizzard has tried in recent years to make the game more new player friendly with all sorts of updated guides telling people what certain things are and where to find them. Like there's a whole guide on their website telling me how if I make a new account, I'll go do Exile's Reach, and then I'll do the Dragonflight expansion, and then I can do the story mode to catch up on the upcoming expansion's narrative, which just goes to show that they still want new players to try their game out and give it a shot. But there is still nothing on these pages telling me why I should play World of Warcraft in the first place, which just blows my mind. And this sort of feeds into my second criticism, which is that WoW gives new players so much direction where it's not needed, while never giving direction where we actually want some. Okay, my first experience trying out WoW was when I played a bit of retail, and when I first logged on and got to Exile's Reach, WoW gave me a tutorial for how to place my hands on the keyboard and mouse like this is the literal first PC game I've ever played. The tutorial was filled with...
You know what's kind of funny about this? Unironically, when I played WoW, it was my first PC game. Well, I played a RuneScape. It was my first... RuneScape was click to move. So it was my first PC game where I had to move my character. I didn't know how to move my character. It was my first PC game to move my character. So what did I do? I put my hands on the arrow keys. I didn't know WASD would move. I moved with the arrow keys for my first year or two. I had no idea I could move with WASD until a year, 2, 3 later. Same? Oh, there's other people. So, I mean, for a brand new player who's never played a PC game, that would have been helpful for me, funny enough. Because it was my first one. How would I have known? You know?
Stuff like this. It told me how to combo my abilities together, which was kind of nice as class direction, but I would probably have more fun figuring that out myself. Eventually, it told me I can even play this game without really needing to play it. But when it came to things I actually needed help with, the game never mentioned them whatsoever. Like, for example, coming from League of Legends, one of the things I was curious about was trying out the PvP in World of Warcraft. I knew WoW used to have a great PvP scene, and seeing all the abilities each class has, as well as the dynamic highlights of what the top level players can do, that got me super excited to give it a shot myself, especially because this is supposed to be one of the big, exciting endgame things everyone says that the game is worth playing for. So at one point, shortly after I made my first impressions of retail video on my warrior a while back, I started to hand level a new character character, a Night Elf Rogue, all the way up to 80 so I could try out the PvP. 80 was max at the time because this was a few weeks before Midnight came out. But all along the way, I was getting excited. I kept trying to figure out how to best combo my abilities as I was leveling so I could be prepared to hopefully not be the worst player on my team for whenever I played my first Battleground and Arena. And when I finally dinged 80 and queued up for my introduction to PvP, I was indeed the worst player in my first Battleground and Arena. Okay, it wasn't just that I was terrible and got my ass handed to me. There was a real issue here, which is that I had no idea why I kept getting murked. When I queued up for a Battleground, I thought I knew what I was doing, running in and trying to play for an objective or battle enemy players. But every single time, I would either die, I would do no damage, or I would do no damage and then die. What's going on? Was I using my abilities wrong? Was I mispositioning? Should I be playing more with my teammates or something? It doesn't look like I'm doing anything wrong to my untrained eye. I queued up for a few Battlegrounds that all went terribly and then tried one arena, but eventually I realized something must be off, so I paused and did like half an hour of research to try to figure out how to engage with PvP, just to find out I need specialized PvP gear to take part in PvP. I was just using the gear I got from leveling my character naturally through regular gameplay, which how was I supposed to know that? I was never once prompted with a tutorial or a warning that I wasn't prepared to do the content I was about to engage with. A simple guide telling me how to get a base set of PvP gear would have done so much for my experience. If I was not already hooked on the great story and other elements of WoW, and this was my first time experiencing the endgame content everyone raves so much about in this game, I would have quit immediately. Honestly, to me, it just feels like Blizzard assumed everyone already knew about the gearing system because everybody already plays WoW.
Fair, I guess.
Like, it never crossed their mind a League player might want to try out their game and see what its PvP is like, so they...
It's tough when you have a game that, at its base level is about the world and about the raids and about, like, playing with others and this and that, and then you try to make it into this competitive PvP game. So League, on the other hand, is a PvP game. And that's one of the things that like shocked me so much when I tried League last year is like, oh, this is a PvP game meant for PvP, which means you can make it great for PvP. It's not a mini game within a game. It's literally a PvP game. So the problem WoW faces is like even back in classic vanilla, there was still PvP gear, right? So you queue up a Battleground. If you have a bunch of PvE gear, you have no stamina, you kind of just get one shot. If you have a bunch of tier 3 or like you're just gonna get owned by someone with way more stamina than you. TBC, same exact thing, still has PvP gear. This is like way back, right? Resilience came into play. Same thing in Wrath. Like if you don't have the gear, you're gonna get owned. But that's like part of the MMO experience, but it doesn't really tell you, to be honest. It could maybe be more clear.
Should maybe add a little tutorial, which is why it's so crazy to me that Blizzard are updating so many tutorials and systems trying to explain their game to new players, but they seem to be failing to explain some pretty big fundamentals. And speaking of that, this is basically the last criticism I have about WoW's new player experience, which is that this lack of communication from Blizzard makes it way too easy for me to unknowingly waste my time, or at least that's a big fear I always have as a new player. Like, the one reason a person would play an MMO in today's day and age is because MMOs are the one genre of video game that does not have an end. An MMO isn't even supposed to be a video game after all, not nearly as much as it's supposed to be a persistent world, and I've already gone over how well WoW does in making new players believe this is a persistent world that lasts forever with no end of things to do. But as I started playing WoW and dove into all the things it had to offer, I kept getting the sense that not all the versions of WoW actually do last forever. Like when I tried retail, I kept hearing retail players say that there's no point playing the game until Midnight comes out. But then also, there was no point playing the game the first week because that wasn't until the new content patch dropped and it was only preseason. But then also, past a certain point, there won't be a reason to play because everyone will have done all the content, and so we'll just have to wait for the next expansion.
That's
which,
fair.
okay, I guess, you know, it's a seasonal MMO or something, which I kind of hate that, but that's fine. At least that version of the game should last forever. In Classic, though, there are so many different options for players to choose with no direction from Blizzard warning me I might be about to start a journey leveling a character on a server that's not going to receive support much longer. What is the difference between the Season of Discovery and Classic Era and Anniversary and Mists of Pandaria?
This is one of the problems WoW has. Like, just transparent. I'm sure Blizzard knows it. We all know it. There's too many versions of WoW. When you're a newcomer, what the heck do I do? I had someone in my Discord type the other day, and they're like, hey, I'm new to WoW. I started playing a month ago. I'm level 30. I'm playing on Mist of Pandaria, and I'm having trouble finding dungeons for other people to play with. What's going on? Brand new player starts playing Classic Mop. No idea how he got there. Do we tell him? I didn't even know what to say. I was like, oh man, where do I start? Well, there's 15 versions of WoW and you picked the wrong one. Like, ooh, right? It's a problem. Let's be honest, it's a problem. The way RuneScape does it, and not to say RuneScape's done it perfect, but I think it's somewhat simple. You have modern RuneScape, RS3, and you have old school RuneScape, which is either one you pick, they're continuous. They're not really seasonal, right? Like you can play them for years. Like there's no wrong choice really, but either one, they're continuous and they're there. RuneScape also then has leagues, which will be like a temporary thing that's marketed as a temporary league that comes and goes, where you can earn stuff for your old school account, right? If I'm WoW, I probably follow that model, which kind of sucks. It's a band-aid you have to rip off. It really sucks. But like, if you have that, you would have retail and Classic Plus. That's it. Pick what you want to play, right? In Classic Plus, you can make a hardcore character, but that's it. Now, that comes with a lot of downsides. The band-aid sucks to rip off. It does. Right? That means getting rid of Mop. That means getting rid of maybe WAD if it comes after Mop. Who knows? That means getting rid of SOD. That means getting rid of it's a TBC, right? Getting rid of TBC, like it's brutal. But then what it means is when you're a new player, it's like, okay, I'm gonna play Classic Plus or I'm gonna play retail. Those are my options. And it's like it streamlines this really nice thing. It's like, okay, cool. I can. Do I want Classic or do I want Modern? Right? So it sucks, but I think that's probably the solution to this problem. It sucks, but I think it's the only way.
Are all these games still receiving updates and support? Are any of them abandoned? Do players still play actively on each one? And if so, what's the most populated version I should go play? I can find answers like these if I go to WoW streamers or content creators, of course, who actually explain things a bit, but there is nothing warning me from Blizzard's official homepages explaining what their plans are for each server. And that's so terrifying to realize because I keep hearing Classic players say that they've finished this version of the game and that they're only raid logging now, whatever that means. And because they all have their best in slot items, there's not even a reason for them to play this version anymore. And that's like the cardinal sin. You should never run out of things to do in an MMO. You know, maybe I'm wrong about all this. It's totally possible.
Weirdly enough, if you really think about it, any any version of WoW becomes raid logging at some point. Hear me out. Retail, you know, you hit your raid every week. What retail does have is Mythic Plus, right? And they have arenas. Those are like endless grinds. But for a lot of people, it's raid logging and retail. You back up to something like Mop Classic. It's raid logging and Mop Classic. You back up to TBC. Raid logging and TBC. You back up to Classic. It's raid logging and Classic. What's the difference here? The difference in Classic is it takes most people like 1 to 6 months to hit max level. So it takes so darn long to get to the raid log status. So your journey is longer. And that's why people seem to love it so much. It's a world that matters. It's not too big. And it's a long time until you're ever getting the raid log. So you can have a journey and go have fun and enjoy it because it's going to be great, right? With retail, you hit max level in a day and you're at raid log like the next. And it's like, okay. With TBC, leveling is much quicker. It's still kind of slow, but then you're at raid logging the next, right? TBC is pretty good though, because to get to raid log phase in TBC is pretty fun, and it'll take you it'll still take you a while. But that's it's something interesting to think about, because it's one of the common denominators with WoW. Keep in mind, WoW is the most successful MMO, Western MMO, I guess, of all time, maybe MMO ever of all time, and they've had this model the whole time of raid logging. One of the differences in 2026 is players have hyper optimized how to get to raid log status quicker, leveling quicker, gearing quicker, skipping dungeons they don't need. So the difference today is you can get to raid log in a week or a month and just stay there, and then it's like, oh, I have nothing to do. Whereas in 2004, we didn't know how to get to raid log status. You never got there. In 2006, when TBC came out, you never got to raid log status. You weren't good enough. You didn't even hit, maybe hit max level on one character. You never even got all the drops you needed before the next patch. You never beat the game. But nowadays, people hyper optimize. They get to raid log and they're logged out. It's like nothing to do. It's like, well, that's just not how it used to be, right? So part of that is like the result of 2026 gaming culture as well.
Well, I'm misunderstanding everything I'm talking about for this point, because I am a new player who largely does not understand most of the terminology I'm hearing from other endgame players. But the fact that I'm getting these weird fears and impressions that I'm gonna run out of content if I choose the wrong version of the game before I even reach the endgame myself, that's a problem. I shouldn't be hearing why WoW isn't worth playing from jaded veterans. I should be hearing why it is worth playing from Blizzard, which is a super simple...
What's funny about this is most other games that I've played, variety here on the channel, people have told me, you're gonna love it. You know, Minecraft. It's like, okay, you're gonna check it out. You're gonna love it. Dark and Darker, Elden Ring. Oh, bro, so good. Check it out. Check it out. The one game that I played on the channel that people told me to not play and to run the other direction, League of Legends. I downloaded League for the first time last year, and my whole chat said, Czar, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Go play any other game. Run away. Don't play. Run away. Don't do this. Don't play League. Don't even download. Don't queue. Don't play. This is all, it's gonna ruin your life. Like the one game. And I feel like it's one of those things, like I think WoW might be somewhat similar of like jaded veterans. When you play a game long enough, you know what's like wrong with it. Right? When you have the eyes of a newbie, it's like, oh man, this is great. But as a jaded veteran, it is like, yeah, well, it has some problems. One of the problems WoW has always had is that, let's be honest, you hit max level, you clear the raid, and you wait till the next patch for the new raid, right? The only difference is back then we didn't do it as quick because we were all noobs.
Effects, all they need to do is just throw me a bone, tell me that I'm safe in picking whatever version of Classic I'm playing, or assure me that even if it is the off season in retail or something, that there's always fun stuff to do. It's just shocking to me how little direction exists for new players like me. We are expected to know everything about this game before we even play it. But as I said at the start of this video, I really think this problem just came about because World of Warcraft got too famous. This game was such a success for such a large generation of gamers that Blizzard never realized new generations might come around who would be interested in trying it out, or that old heads like me might want to try out the game because our computer wasn't good enough to run it in 2004. So they never thought they needed to explain why their game was worth playing or how its systems worked. They just assumed that everyone already knew everything, not realizing that they needed to sell their title compared to all the other online PC games that we have at our disposal today. I feel like this is so sad because I can only imagine how many new players over the years picked up WoW, gave it a try, and they were about to become lifelong fans of the franchise like me until they got lost or frustrated or too aggravated at some system that wasn't explained properly. The good news though is that all of this is fixable. A proper bit of marketing and maybe some small tweaks to the onboarding experience with a few tutorials here and there, that would be good enough, I think, to guide players to what version of the game is best for them and then turn them into lifelong fans. Because
the thing that's hard with retail with this is there's just so much to explain. Like, look at this pause frame on Shibe. Like, imagine you have a new retail player and it's like, okay, let me just explain real quick. Like, in PvP, you need PvP gear, because if you don't have it, it's not going to scale up, so you're not going to have the HP pool and the damage to actually compete with other players. So like, well, where do you get that gear? It's like, well, okay, well, to get the PvP gear, the starter gear, you can queue up for battlegrounds and spend your honor, or you could go out in the world and like get honor that way, and then spend the honor on like basic honor gear, and then from the honor gear you can queue up harder content like an arena or a rated battleground, or rated solo shuffle, or rated battleground blitz, and then get like the better gear and upgrade it. But you want to enchant your gear before you actually get started, so you need to find an enchanter, and like and you can get crafted PvP gear too, which is from a different crafting table, and like then you can enchant the boots, but like you need a certain enchant because this enchant's better than that one. And it's like, you could just talk for like hours. Like, it's so much to explain. One of the things I love about Classic is its beautiful simplicity, right? A lot of that is kind of true in Classic. Like, there's a lot to explain in Classic too, but it's kind of just like, there's so much pacing and so much time between these different adventures that it's like, you almost have the time to just sit there and think like, okay, let's try queuing a battleground. Like, you know, it's like, it comes very slow, and there's not as many systems, right? There's not blitz, solo shuffle, pet battles, achievements, all these mythic plus, different difficulties of all the raids. Like, it's not bloated, right? It's just simple. So yeah, I'm a big Classic Plus believer. You know, I think it could be a good game. You know, if Blizzard decides to do Classic Plus, you know, I think it would be a really good idea. I would play. I don't know about you guys. Sounds like it'd be pretty fun.
Because this game really is still unlike anything else out there. If my experience playing through it has taught me anything, it's taught me that. I just hope Blizzard are aware of these problems that exist, since, as is my understanding, they have a really great opportunity to fix all of this in both Classic and Retail. Classic, because it has that whole Classic Plus project that everyone is convinced is about to be announced at BlizzCon. And even Retail apparently is in the middle of a big trilogy of expansions that are trying to reset the world a bit, so it can have a fresh start for the next 20 years. This is the perfect chance for Blizzard, the perfect time to just explain things a little bit more about what makes this game so great and guide new players to the parts of the game that are so great. Just trust me, Blizzard, your game is still so good. You just need to show me where it is. I honestly hope Blizzard can fix this though, because if any MMO world deserves to last another 20 plus years, it is this one. But on that note, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm certainly enjoying making more World of Warcraft content, and I hope to keep more frequent videos coming out. Stay tuned for the next episode of my Classic playthrough that's right around the corner. Shout out to all the channel members for supporting the content, and shout out to you for watching all the way to the very end. I seriously appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next video. But until whenever I see you next, thank you very much for watching this video. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.
I like how we still has the same outro. Bro, that was fire, man. That was absolutely fire. I just love hearing the perspectives, man. That's not really what I thought he was going to say, which is cool. You know, it's like, he thinks there's a massive gap in marketing of like, why should you actually play WoW? And like, how do you actually do it? Right? Fair point. Definitely a fair point.